afternoon. Welcome to Wisconsin Weather Experts. I have Chief Meteorologist Rob Haspel with me today, the all-knowledgeable person that's going to give us a lot of details of what's going on across the country. And it's going to be a busy day. You know, we've had an active morning so far here in the U.S., especially in areas of Colorado.
Yeah, we often have, breaking news, and this is breaking weather or earth news, I suppose. And as we take a look here, this is the latest from the USGS, or the U.S. Geological Survey, in Colorado, as you can see, due north of Denver right there. It's a 2.9 magnitude earthquake. It was reported earlier this morning, 6:08 local time, so that wasn't too long ago,
right,
when you adjust for time zones. They said the earthquake happened just north of Denver, about 3 miles southwest of Dacono, Colorado. And the light shaking was felt all over the Interstate 25 there. That must have been very scary for drivers.
Right, exactly, especially in the morning when people are getting out and about.
Yeah, and then, of course, all the surrounding suburbs. If you've ever been to Denver, it's quite a sprawling metropolis. There's lots and lots of suburbs out there. It was about a 5-mile depth, so meaning that the actual quake itself occurred about 5.09 miles below the surface. No damage reported because of the earthquake at this time, but like we were just saying, must have been very scary.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we've been talking about earthquakes in many other areas of the country, even the world. So having something a little bit closer to home, this is going to be big news, especially it's a very densely populated area. So thankfully, again, like you mentioned, no damage, no injuries reported.
Right. Have you ever experienced an earthquake?
I have actually. I used to live by the New Madrid fault line, so when I was down south, we had
Illinois.
Yep, southern Illinois, southeast Missouri. We had a lot more earthquakes, but nothing too shattering to where objects were thrown off shelves or anything. It almost felt like a massage in my bed. I think that's where I want to keep it. The lower end magnitude earthquakes.
And that's the similar fault line to what we have that extends up through parts of Wisconsin as well. And we have seen them in northern Illinois and southern Wisconsin. Usually, it's like almost just a weird feeling because something shifts and it's very brief. Maybe a picture rattles for no reason.
And if you live by a train, for example, I usually say it's like that. If you're close enough to the tracks, you can actually feel that shaking, and it's very similar to that.
But not on par with what, of course, happens in California. This was obviously in a similar thing, kind of scary for drivers, but no, obviously, big problems with that. But we'll continue to watch that. It might actually be the sign of a more active fault line in the months ahead, of course. Yeah. Let's talk about vehicles going down the highway dealing with an earthquake. Let's talk about vehicles getting washed away. Actually, a much more serious situation as far as impacting human health. At least 4 people are dead after floodwaters in San Antonio swept away multiple vehicles. Police say at least 13 cars were found submerged in the water. They are now looking for any more vehicles that may have gone undetected to date and asking anyone who left their car in the water to contact them so that they know they're safe. Officials are urging people to use caution when driving in floodwaters. Of course, we want you to turn around and not drown.
And just a word of caution to the public. Turn around, don't drown is probably the wisest saying that we could heed right now and when these waters are rising. So everybody be careful.
There you go. Several others were rescued and transported to nearby hospitals. It is the slogan of the National Weather Service, obviously, turn around, don't drown when it comes to floods. And I think, unfortunately, it's very well constructed and it's very easy to remember, but unfortunately, sometimes because it's kind of a cute little rhyme, it gets easily dismissed. Floodwaters are very deadly, very damaging, and we often misunderstand and underestimate the power of water. First of all, even just walking through floodwater that's flowing downhill at 6 to 12 miles per hour can sweep you off your feet. Right. Ankle depth water, you can, and then you may be washed farther into deeper waters. And then once your car is buoyant, which gets into the 12-inch, 18-inch range depending on the vehicle, once you're buoyant, you're just going along with the river.
Yeah, you can't control it. And a lot of times those floodwaters can rise extremely fast. So even if you only have, let's say, a couple inches on the ground, once they rise and you're buoyant, like you said, you have no control.
There's no steering, there's no nothing. And to be fair to the people who were caught in this, that may have been the case. It happened so quickly they had no option to turn around. If you do have that option, always choose that. Now, happy to say that flash flooding is not in the forecast, but there are quite a few things going on in the big picture.
There definitely is. We're going to talk about rain and flooding potential for some locations. But back here locally right now, we're going to start on the small picture. Statewide, where we're tracking a widespread area of showers in central and northern portions of Wisconsin, which is going to continue today. So with ongoing rain showers, there is a slight chance of maybe some minor flooding further north. The bigger picture, though, is going to be rain continuing off to the south. And if you look at the United States, areas near the Mississippi River Valley and towards the East Coast, quite cloudy with sporadic showers and thunderstorms, while areas in the Great Plains to the West Coast are rather dry. So we're going to have this trend even heading into the weekend. Western half of the United States going to be dealing with the heat and drier conditions, while eastern portions of the United States are going to be dealing with more of the shower and thunderstorm types conditions. And not only that, but we have a large area issued by the Weather Prediction Center that could be dealing with marginal to slight flooding. Yes, some areas could be seeing 2 to 4 inches of rain. Isolated spots, especially along the Gulf Coast, could be more than that. So this is a large portion of the United States dealing with the potential, again, for rain on and off through the upcoming days. But the big reason is why. And that all has to come down to right now this stationary frontal boundary. What we are tracking with this boundary is winds coming out of the south. So that is drawing in a significant amount of moisture south of that front, which is really going to aid the heavy rain continuing across all of these states, which therefore would allow flooding to occur within these same regions. What we also want to talk about with this front is it's not just impacting the precipitation, but it's going to have an impact on the temperatures. South of that front, where that warm, moist air is drawn in, that's where we are tracking a lot of reds, a lot of oranges. That is the heat. So most of the warmth is going to impact areas in southern portions of the United States, while notice areas north along the northern Rockies, the Great Lakes region, and even northern portions of New England. We have the cooler temperatures, those cooler colors indicating cooler temps, which will be nice for our area for the weekend. Traveling a little bit further south, though, Phoenix, Arizona, not only dealing with some of that wildfire smoke as well, but this is one of the spots that's looking to be the hottest as we head into the upcoming days. Yes, we're tracking even southern portions of California heading into Arizona, where extreme heat warnings are issued for today into the weekend. Temperatures could be 110 degrees up to 120 in portions of Death Valley, and that's not the feel-like temperatures. Remember, these areas are usually rather dry, so they're not impacted as much by the dew point, but it's that dry heat where those actual temperatures get into the triple digits that still makes it very dangerous and even deadly to be outside for a prolonged period in those locations. So the national forecast, yes, we're tracking those triple-digit temperatures across areas of New Mexico as well as Arizona. The 80s, 90s spread along and south of that front, so that's a big chunk of the United States dealing with unseasonably warm temperatures. While take a look at that area where we talked about the cooler temps, 60s and 70s across the Great Lakes. So if you're a fan of some of the cooler temps over the weekend, I think you're going to luck out, because areas further north are looking to have the more comfortable temperatures and the coolest, in fact, across the United States. Mostly, we're expected to have the 50s and 60s in central and northern portions of Wisconsin, as well as the UP today, again, in part because it's farther away from that front, as well as the rain-cooled air. Notice central and southern portions of the state, we are going to be closer to that front. We're also pretty much rain-free right now. That's going to keep temperatures a little bit warmer in the 70s and possibly 80s, closer to areas near Burlington and Dubuque. We are still talking about a lake breeze today, so cooler near the lake shore today and tomorrow, but still looking to be quite comfortable as we head into the weekend. Speaking of the upcoming days, though, especially for the southeast Wisconsin area, we're going to heat things up. Summer is looking to return, and temperatures will be about 10 degrees above average, pushing into the 80s. But it's going to feel a lot more uncomfortable than that, because we are going to gradually increase our dew points. Dew points not bad right now. We have relatively mild air for this time of year across Wisconsin, still very comfortable, but where that front is draped, again, take a look to the south. That's where we've been talking about that dense moisture being drawn in from the Gulf, where dew points are in the 60s, almost 70s, and that is when we start to talk about that really heavy, oppressive air that makes it hard to breathe, not so enjoyable to be outside. And as we progress through the weekend, we'll gradually increase our dew dew points across the state, but really looking to hike up the dew points and bring in that moisture as we're heading into Monday, Tuesday, even Wednesday of next week. So dew points in the 60s, almost 70s for us, not going to feel the best when we are mixing it with those temperatures in the 80s. What we're tracking though, rain-wise for the weekend, northern portions of the state still going to be dealing with some showers as we're progressing through your Friday. Central, southern portions of the state might have an isolated shower or storm near the border, but most of us look to stay dry. We'll continue to track some of those ongoing showers in northern portions of Wisconsin heading into Saturday. Saturday looking to be dry, central Wisconsin from areas of Wausau south. So Saturday will be dry for most of our areas of Wisconsin, but we're tracking Saturday night where a system looks to be moving out of Minnesota. The big question, is this going to make it to southeast Wisconsin, or are we going to weaken this and dry out? And models are still flip-flopping what could happen. So we're just going to have to watch central and southern portions of Wisconsin heading into Sunday. There is the chance that there could be some light showers, maybe a rubble of thunder, but there's also the chance that we could trend drier within the next 24 hours, which of course is something we're hoping would happen as that is Father's Day. We're also tracking still that wildfire smoke lingering across Wisconsin right now, that little dense pocket showing the brighter yellows and greens, still going to be across eastern portions of Wisconsin. Again, this is a loft, not near the surface, so that means our air quality is not looking to be as impacted by this. We'll still have some of that lingering light smoke across the area as we're heading through the rest of Saturday and Sunday. And Rob's mentioned this earlier too, looking to continue to have that wildfire smoke lingering in the foreseeable future until they can really control some of those fires up north. Of course, we're watching that air quality daily to make sure if it does get to that level where it's unhealthy for sensitive groups or everyone, that we will let people know, but still causing a lot of hazy sunrises and sunsets every day.
Yeah, it actually caused the strawberry moon to look like a strawberry.
Yeah,
so
for once.
I suppose it had upside there. And then for once, social media actually was accurate. But it is an important thing. We joke because that's what I do. But it is an important thing. It is a valuable piece of information for a lot of folks out there who have underlying health conditions. You know, if you're in good health, you're relatively young, and you're active, it's probably not going to have a major impact. But over time, exposure to wildfire smoke has been proven to be a chronic issue. So we're going to keep an eye on that. And of course, hopefully in the days ahead, they will get those fires under control. We're going to shift to some severe weather now, kind of an update out of Pennsylvania. A tornado hit Pennsylvania, western Pennsylvania, totally destroying some buildings, knocking down some trees. The National Weather Service was able to confirm earlier this week that it was in fact a tornado. It tore through Erie County on Monday night, destroying multiple barns on one family's farm, and neighbors and friends all stopped in to help with the cleanup.
Saw all these lines of cars, so we just saw like the whole community come and help out. Like we got here pretty fast, I think, but there's still a bunch of people before we even got here.
As truly devastating as this is, it's really inspiring to see that all these people have come together and made an effort to make it better.
Yeah, that always does seem to be the upside. You find out your community is stronger than you thought, but no word on the full extent of storm damage at this point. Tragically, 2 horses were killed in the storm. No other reports of any injuries or death. Now, the good news is that we have good news to end this segment on. Of course, we've got a lot more of Wisconsin weather experts straight ahead, but look at this beautiful video here. We have to wrap up on a positive note.
Oh, gorgeous.
Oh, that's our very own Mike Seduth. Amazing video out in Longmont, Colorado, taken yesterday.
Colorado rainbow.
Yeah, and then of course today the earthquake in Colorado. So interesting what Mother Nature and our Earth can do for us here. What a great shot! All right, we're back with more Wisconsin weather experts in just a couple of minutes.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Weather Experts. You know, we've had a lot of stuff going on in the beginning of the show, from tornado damage to flooding to talking about earthquakes, but we're going to change it a little bit because we have some better weather coming our way for those who like summer.
Yeah, a lot of heat is coming. The dog days of summer, as they call them, are almost here. You can help, though, ward off some heat-related complications by just easing into your outdoor activities. We all kind of try to jump right into summer, but you have to take it easy on your body. Staying active year-round, of course, is a good idea for your health. To help prevent heat-related illness, just allow your body some time to adjust.
It has to be not just a day prior, but it has to be at least acclimation within a week, so that way you're able to prepare and to train, and also just progress slowly, whether it's cool temperatures at first, at night, and then working your way up.
Experts have several tips. Be mindful about sun exposure. Time your workouts to maximize shade, or maybe do them at different times of the day when it's a little cooler. Drink a lot of water. Always comes down to staying hydrated, right? You can also drink water that has electrolytes in it if you choose. Kids doing summer sports should watch out for extra gear raising their body temperature. You know, things like football practice or lacrosse.
Yeah, so there's definitely some great tips, and we're going to have to keep that in mind, especially next week when not only tracking the 80s, but rising those dew points. It's going to feel very toasty out there.
That's right, and Summerfest.
I know.
Next week, so a lot of folks are going to be outside.
Always coming just in time for Summerfest.
And just for a lot of folks, that walking around Summerfest all day long is more exercise than they're used to. So again, just maybe go for a couple of walks before you head down to Henry Meyer Festival Park. And as you head down there, you got to be looking out for all the beauty of our world, like butterflies.
Yeah, it's that time of year, right, where we do see butterflies. But a new study finds that butterflies, they're in trouble. The butterfly population within the United States is rapidly shrinking, with nearly 1 in 5 of the insects disappearing in the last 20 years. There are almost 800 different species in the U.S., and about 1 in 3 were affected. Scientists say this decline should be a wake-up call because butterflies play a critical role in pollinating and in cycling nutrients. Researchers say the overuse of insecticides is causing this decline. But it's not all doom and gloom. Biologists say that if the use of insecticides can be reversed, butterflies and other pollinators can recover. The study appeared in Science on Thursday. Well, it's great to know that they have an optimistic side of maybe trying to reverse it. I know, we've had some milkweed here as well, bringing the butterflies back, but you don't think about the impacts of things we use, and it's, even though it's not intended, for the butterflies, it still has an impact on surrounding things in nature.
For sure, even if you don't want to dedicate an entire, like a huge area of your yard to, a natural garden, to help the pollinators, even just pick a couple of square feet. Maybe it's in behind the shed that no one's going to see, and just let that do its thing. Maybe you plant some milkweed for the butterflies and things like that, because we love butterflies. We want them to be around for a long time. We'll be around at least for another 10 or 11 minutes. Stick around. We have more Wisconsin weather experts when we come back. Trigger warning. We've got a python on the loose.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Weather Experts. We have a lot to talk about, and it may not be as much as you like unless you like snakes.
Yeah, well, a lot of animals coming up here in just a few minutes. Of course, if you have any questions about maybe how the weather might impact your pets, maybe you have pet snakes or things like that we're about to talk about, you can send that information to us. Just hit that QR code. Maybe you send us a picture of your household pet, and you can talk weather and pets, weather and animals. Of course, everything connected. First, though, we're going to go out on the water. I guess Milwaukee's the place to be for boaters in the summertime, especially on the 4th of July. A new study shows that Milwaukee has been named one of the best boating destinations in the U.S. for the holiday, the 4th of July. Milwaukee is ranked 7th overall. Top 3, San Diego, Chattanooga, Tennessee, which I hadn't thought of. A lot of rivers there, so I guess that makes sense. And then Austin, Texas. Of course, this year with the drone show, that'll be amazing on the water.
Yeah, it definitely will. And it's a great spot to be. You know, there's perfect viewing for it, a large surface.
Oh, yeah.
You could go out in the lake, and we got some free beaches. Can't complain about that. Or down to the south, they're not as free.
Yeah, I'm looking for it. And then, of course, we're lighting the other side of the home. That'll look great from the water, too. So probably a rise in the rankings. All right, we warned you. There's a snake here. If my mom is watching, there's a snake here.
Not here in the office.
No.
But we are tracking.
No.
We are tracking one. In somewhere else. We have animal control officers captured a 15-foot, yes, 15-foot python, reportedly terrorized people in Garland, Texas neighborhood. Fox's Amelia Jones reports.
Friday night.
So much for coming home early.
Jesse and Lily Diaz came home to find a reptile causing quite a ruckus next door.
It was just crazy, just crazy.
A snake slithered its way into their neighbor's truck. Lily took this video of it curled up under the hood.
Animal control was just one guy. As soon as you grab it and you try to pull it, that snake would just move like 2 inches, and he'll just push him.
The couple learned a woman across the street called animal control to report a snake on Apache Drive in Garland. By the time animal control got there, the python pushed its way into the truck's engine. Then, to avoid capture, it went into the truck's body and coiled itself underneath.
You're talking about a 15-foot snake.
To better illustrate 15 feet, we measured it out, and it's longer than the Diaz's driveway. From the start of their driveway all the way over to where I put this newspaper down and their neighbor's driveway begins. That's the total length of 15 feet.
You said the way he was launching was probably from where I'm at, you're maybe about 2 to 3 feet he will launch out and snap at it.
After a good hour or so, animal control tied a rope around the snake's body and slowly pulled it out from under the truck. Once it was out, they put a blanket over it and safely put it in a container. No pythons or people were hurt during the rescue.
That was crazy. That was chaotic because we never expected this in this neighborhood.
Then again, this is not your typical neighborhood nuisance.
Things happen, but not
a python.
Oh, boy.
Oh, my goodness. And yes, if you recognize that reporter, that's former Fox 6er, Amelia Jones, who now works for our Fox station down in Texas, obviously.
And that snake was not wild. It ended up being someone's pet.
Well, hopefully the pet is back home and stays home this time. Let's go back to home here, Milwaukee Zoo. Yes, the zoo is going to have some changes. They have announced that the small mammals building will be closing for good before the end of the year. They say it's all part of the zoo's new strategic plan to add habitats to offer immersive experiences. So it'll be a good thing in the long run. They say the small mammals building has kind of outlived its prime when it comes to modern animal care. So it's time to kind of move on there. All the animals will be relocated, of course. Some of the small mammals include ring-tailed lemurs. They're always really fun to watch. Hoffman's two-toed sloth, also very fun to watch. And sometimes mimic. That's often me on a morning. And the fennec foxes are in that building as well. So they'll get a new home. Things will get modernized. And our zoo always does amazing stuff. And they're always pushing forward. You know, it wasn't too long ago the giraffes had a whole new home built for them. So yeah, it's always nice to see new things coming there. And that's a great place to be. Maybe this weekend with Dad.
Maybe this weekend with Dad,
And
yeah.
as you were saying, the weather doesn't look too bad.
No, maybe you have to dodge a couple showers on Sunday, but we'll have to watch that closely.
I think Sunday's just kind of one of those keep the weather
Yes.
app handy kind of days so that you and Dad can enjoy the forecast and stay dry. We got the roof open out at American Family Field, at least 4 now. You're watching Wisconsin Weather Experts. Thank you for doing that right here on Fox Local and the Fox 6 YouTube channel.